As the Edmonton Oilers enter the second round of the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs, they are now the favorites to win the Cup. But how do they fare in their matchup against the Vegas Golden Knights? And is this series price fair considering how Vegas fared in their first round series against the Jets? Welcome back to Edgework here on the Hammer Betting Network, back with yet another series preview for the second round of the 2023 NHL playoffs. Today previewing the Edmonton Oilers Vegas Golden Knights series. Currently looking at the prices for this one. Edmonton minus 153, an implied probability of 60.5%. Vegas currently sitting at plus 133 on the other side there. And so, Money, I'll go to you right away. Kind of your thoughts on the series price, what we're looking at, and based on where we saw the Oilers and what they did in the series against the LA Kings to now looking at this price against Vegas, as someone who has been a big supporter of the Oilers all season long this year. Is this about where you expected this price to be? Does this seem fair for this series against Vegas?
Yeah, I think that the price is fair. I would like the Oilers to drop just a little bit. It's just unfortunate that as much as I've loved the Oilers, I still haven't been able to bet them on a game-by-game basis. I did bet them live when they got down in Game 4, but other than that, I just haven't had an opportunity to play them. So I would like it to come down a little bit more for me to bet on the Oilers. But right now, when I look at the number, it's fine. It's a fair number in my opinion.
And that kind of seems to be the consensus, is that where the number's at right now with this minus 153, it seems to be in about the right spot. Matt, is this like where you were expecting it as well? Would you say that that's fair to say in terms of like the consensus all around for majority of us here on the Edgework show?
Yeah, I don't know if it was where I expected it, because I had some high hopes for it to be a little bit lower than this, because obviously the Oilers starting on the road. It's kind of hoping, well, maybe people get infatuated a little bit with the Golden Knights winning relatively easily, 5 games, the quickest dispatching of any team, and getting home ice advantage for this series. Thought maybe we get, I still thought the Oilers would be favored, but I thought maybe we might get like a minus 130 price on the Oilers. So the market, knows what it's doing. And we didn't quite get that. That being said, I look at when I tweak the ratings here from the first round, I just look at the Oilers and I go, I'm really impressed with what they did against the Kings. And now that might be, I might kind of be backing myself into a corner by liking the Kings as much as I did going into the playoffs and being bummed out that the Oilers were facing the Kings, and kind of knowing, that I was going to like whoever got out of that series, sort of to maybe honestly make a run to the Stanley Cup final, if not win the Stanley Cup. And so I'm boosting the Oilers because they did, not dominate necessarily, but there's about a 55% play driving rate in my metrics. So I'm going to give them a ton of credit for knocking off the Kings if it took 6 games versus the Golden Knights, who honestly, they beat up on a pretty lifeless Jets team. Now, part of that lifelessness was the injuries that they occurred, and all of that sort of thing. But also the Jets kind of stunk in that series, and Connor Hellebuyck kind of stunk in that series, if we're being completely honest, right? And so I'm not going to boost the Golden Knights, who, by the way, I didn't really like the Golden Knights all that much going into the playoffs. And so the more I sort of, cook the book, so to speak here, I can kind of lean to paying a kind of bad price, if you will, with the Oilers here. So, yeah, I'm hoping that by the time the series rolls around on Wednesday that we might get maybe a minus 140 out there somewhere. But I like the Oilers minus 1.5. Again, I sort of devalue the home ice advantage element as longer that we go in the playoffs. But certainly because the Oilers have shown that they can play on the road. They've dealt with, Calgary last year, obviously twice over with the Kings, who have a sneaky decent home ice advantage. We always talk about like the Vegas flu as if LA is some like bad hang, to go for a couple of days. And then obviously Colorado as well. Now, obviously they got swept last year with Colorado, but they competed in those games on the road. And so I think the Oilers, veteran team now at this point with the experience, this is time for them to kind of put up or shut up here. They are the better team, and I'm not going to kind of quibble with too many percentage points here from a probability standpoint. And I'll take the Oilers in game 1 at essentially a pick 'em price. And then for the series at minus 1.5 games, because I think they certainly can close this out in 6, if not earlier.
Well, and Matt brought up there the points about Vegas in their first round series against Winnipeg. And Right. I was kind of curious about like, hey, we saw what Edmonton did in that first round and the way that they came out against LA, their ability to kind of climb back, whether in some of those games and not let some of the stuff that had happened deter them, whether it was high sticking calls against or blown leads themselves. And in a couple of the early games in that series, they still found a way to kind of put that aside, close out LA within the six. Now, Vegas, they get blown out in game one, but then as Matt said, yes, some injuries do pile up for Winnipeg, but they also kind of had a response to things in what led Rick Bowness to basically lose his mind on the stand after and saying, hey, these guys don't push back. How much of that, though, just had to do with Vegas and their level of play and how good they were defeating Winnipeg? And then did that alter any of your perception of them or maybe how you'd value them going into this series against Edmonton here?
I mean, you have to take it with a grain of salt because they did look bad in the first game. And then the second game, Vegas is out there and they're blowing a lead with the Jets down Morrissey and, only playing with 5D until like second overtime. They take that game, playing shorthanded, missing their best defenseman. So yeah, like the injury bug hit the Jets really hard. At the end of the day, Vegas is still a very good team, one of the stingiest defensive teams in the NHL. And these are the two best 5-on-5 teams of the first round. Now, that being said, we just talked about the Jets and, the injuries that they had to kind of overcome and how they really faded down the stretch as well. Whereas the Oilers did it against a very good Kings team. I was very high on this Kings team coming into the playoffs, all late in the season. I thought that they would give the Oilers a really hard time. And like in theory, they did because they took it 6 games and it was a tight game 6 with a late goal. But like, realistically, the Oilers kind of dominated that series according to underlying metrics, and they looked really impressive. I think anyone who is surprised by that price needs to kind of get on board with the Oilers right now because this team is not just McDavid and Leon anymore. This is, this is a deep team that has a very capable second line with, Nugent Hopkins and Hyman there. They need to play a little bit better than they did at some stretches in that first round. But again, very good second line. That third line of Fogle, McLeod, and Ryan, they were unbelievable against the Kings, and they provided like a lot of momentum, swinging shifts. They had a very high expected goal share when they were on the ice together. So yeah, this is a deep team. I think like we kind of need to buy into the Oilers right now. Like anyone who hasn't yet, you're seeing the proof of like they played a very good Kings team in round one and they handled them with, I mean, again, it sounds bad to say it because it was a tight 6-game series, but they handled them with ease. Like they really did. They never looked like super uncomfortable in that series. Everything that was thrown at them, they were able to kind of, dodge the punches and deliver one right back. So
it's funny that you said, I was about to say, like they took the punches and they punched back, right?
Yeah.
They basically fought fire with fire. And, I pushed back on the like with ease part, but it was more just like they handled it with composure. Right. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, okay, we're down, 3-0. We're blowing, late game leads in those first couple of games. Like it was like, yeah, we're in here for a 12-round fight. And that's not, the version of the Oilers that we've seen in the past wouldn't necessarily have been up for a 12-round fight. They'd be like, man, if we can't knock these guys out in the first 3 or 4 rounds, to stick with the boxing metaphor, then like, I don't know what other moves we have left, right? Well, this team has other moves. And I think, So Money's obviously been, knee deep in the Oilers stuff. I have been buying the Oilers in the form of Connor McDavid, Conn Smythe futures. So, we're all either Oilers or the best Oiler, depending on who you ask. But fundamentally, it's not too late to get on each one of those trains. But, the train is leaving the station pretty quickly here. So jump on it while you can.
Well, let's look at some of our favorite picks for this series, favorite bets for this series. I know that based on where we're at, it kind of seems like this price right now, it seems about right. Maybe not too enticing for us to jump on either side and get behind one of the numbers for the series price overall, just for one team to win. So Money, I'm going to start with you. I find it very fascinating to hear how people play different things out when they do have futures on teams, because maybe you're not going to be as willing to get behind a series price or play a team on a game-by-game basis when you do have that investment of a long-term thing on a team. Now, it's fairly known that you are in support of the Oilers here, and if you weren't sure, you could just see the little tab under So Money's name there. It would kind of indicate his support of which team he's behind in this series. But is there a certain way that you might want to play this series, So Money, if you're not going to get behind the just price in general of who's going to win? Is there maybe a different way that you'd want to go about this one?
Yeah, so Alex and Matt touched on it. Where the first thing that stands out to me in this series is, and I keep harping on this. This is a different Oilers team in terms of depth. It's not just McDavid and Draisaitl. You have Evander Kane in there. You have So Money in there. You have Evan Bouchard in there, right? Like all these guys, right? They all have the depth, and they're carrying this Oilers team, right? And I just can't believe that you guys missed me getting my name in there with
I
the
was going to say, did he just put himself on the second line wing? What just happened?
But
like scrolling through the depth chart, like who?
no, but so if Jay Woodcroft has been okay with putting McDavid and Draisaitl on the same line, and he's also been okay with breaking them up in certain areas. I would assume that if they're matched up on the same line, we should see Mark Stone's line against them, which then goes into my point about the depth of the Oilers. They have other guys on this team now that can score. So one market that stood out to me was Evander Kane having the most goals in this series. I think he's 8-1 right now. He's shown signs of carrying the load, or the ability to carry the load, get the big goals when the team may be suffering a bit in the middle of a game sometimes. So and with the minutes that he's starting to get and the situations he is, obviously McDavid and Draisaitl, they're going to be the favorites to get the most goals. But if I'm right about the Oilers having just an insane amount of depth now from all four lines, he's a guy that stands out to get most goals in this series.
Right. Costin's not a bet for you, so much.
Oh, you know I would love it, but I think Costin had his fill for the whole playoffs here.
Fair enough. Matt, is there a way that you might be looking to play this one outside of series price?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, -1.5 games is a bet that I've already made. That's, I mean, obviously it would be great to have a better price than that, but again, I think they can take this in less. And honestly, again, because we talked about sort of the idea of the counter punching, or sort of taking the punches as they come. Man, if Vegas wins the first game, like just me and a wheelbarrow coming down the street to in series the Oilers in this case. So in a weird way, kind of cheering against the Oilers in a game one, just for the idea of like just piling it up on the Oilers overall for this series. But again, at Pick'em basically for the Oilers, I'll probably end up grabbing them in game one. So for a relatively small amount. But like I said, if they somehow lost that, I wouldn't even be that phased, because I know I shouldn't say no. I think I would be getting it back at some point later on in the series.
Right. One thing about the Oilers too with the game one is that they didn't fly back home. They just they stayed in LA. Good on the Kings for making the team facilities available to them.
Mm-hmm. But what a brazen ask! Like, hey guys, sorry about knocking you out. What are you guys doing with the practice facility for the next couple of days?
Maybe it says something about how the Kings feel about Vegas. But yeah, I thought that the Oilers staying out there, I thought that was. It's all business now for our Oilers.
Do you think Connor McDavid and do you think Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are recreating the Pavel Bure, Valerie Bure hockey card from 1993 with them on the rollerblades by the beach? Do you think they're having a photo shoot in between practices out there? That's only for a certain demographic of people who would understand that reference. But I know so many.
I think they're gonna wait until after they win the cup.
Okay, and it's just shorts and rollerblades and wood sticks by the beach. Love
it. So Money's going to be part of the photo shoot at that point.
Yeah, I'll be right there.
He's a third line winger.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to Woodcroft about getting me some minutes in there.
All right. Well, Moretto, finally with you for favorite picks in this series, favorite bets that you might be looking at.
I'll just lay it with the Oilers and their series price here. I think that maybe it's like getting to the point where it's a little bit rich, but like I'm on board here. I'm fully on board. I think that this is, Vegas, like their strength is defense, but this is about as tough a matchup as they could possibly have from the opposing team's offense, and this high octane fast, and that the fast attack of the Oilers is what also kind of scares me from a Vegas perspective, because this is an aging, slower team. They don't really have the team speed and the foot speed. So, I mean, that could be a real problem here, and that could be a big difference maker. And the other thing is that, Vegas 58% on the PK in the first round. Good God, that is awful. They the Jets power play, which was not some record-breaking power play like the Oilers one was. They made them look incredible. And the Oilers power play that hit 56% in the first round is now going to face that penalty kill. That just spells trouble for Vegas.
I didn't even realize the Jets were that good, because obviously they didn't spend all that much time in the playoffs this year. So I saw that obviously looking to preview this year. So I was like, wait, the Jets did what on the power play? I audibly gasped. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, Vegas doesn't give up a ton of penalties. That's just kind of been their thing over the last 2 years. But again, the Oilers don't need a ton of penalties to convert when you're ripping through at 50+% on the power play.
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot kind of stacked against Vegas here when you look at special teams. The ability to generate offense. They don't have the goaltending edge. Team speed. It's just this is looking like the Oilers are going to have somewhat of not a comfortable path, but I think that a lot of things point to the Oilers having success in this series. And I mean, there's also the fact that, home ice just, Matt mentioned earlier too, home ice just doesn't mean as much as we go deeper into the playoffs here. So, they have great fans, but it's a tough building to play in. But at the end of the day, I think this is just these are two very good teams, but it's a good matchup for the Oilers.
All right. Final thing we'll do here to wrap this series preview up. We got to go picks and predictions in terms of who wins this series and how many games. So take the betting aspect aside and just go flat out picks and predictions. Moretto, I'm going to start with you. You're betting on the Oilers here in terms of the series price. You're just going to take that. Are you taking the Oilers, and in how many games?
I'm taking the Oilers, and I'll take the Oilers in 6. And Evander Kane has a big series for so money there.
Okay. Matt, I'm going to you next. Pick
Oilers,
and prediction.
I'll just go Oilers in 5.
Okay.
Vegas takes the first game, and then I just have a giant sack of money, dropping it off, full of pennies, like Todd Gack and Seinfeld, just throwing the pennies in the door, and they won't be pennies, I'll promise you that. And then the Oilers just win the rest of the games.
All right, and so money.
So this is not a fanboy homer play, right? I do like the Oilers in 4. So I'm gonna I'll just looking at the sweep prices there as well. I'm gonna take the Oilers in a sweep.
I think I'm gonna go.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to Oilers in 6. So we got full sweeper on the board in terms of Oilers on this one, but we've got a whole bunch of different games. I just think Vegas gives a little punch, like maybe what we saw in the LA series, and Edmonton withstands it in terms of how Matt said, composed. They stay composed throughout that series, and they can find a way to withstand it and stay in there and close that one out in 6. But thank you guys for taking the time to do this here on your on the picks, previews, and predictions for the Oilers Vegas Golden Knights.
There you go. Look at that.
On the Vegas Golden Knights series, if you're looking on the screen there, you see the berets. Will be recreated by Draisaitl, McDavid, and their winger So Money at the end of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But thank you guys for taking the time to do this. If you enjoyed the content here today, please make sure to hit like and subscribe to the Edgework HQ YouTube channel. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on the series, the picks, the predictions. If you have your own best bet, if you're tailing, if you're fading, let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in here today, and enjoy the second round, and good luck on your bets.